MGM Studios infamously mistreated Judy Garland, forcing the starlet on strict diets and giving her a steady supply of pills to keep her thin. But few people know that she suffered even worse treatment from the studio. Whether she liked it or not, Judy Garland was always destined for show business. Born to two vaudeville performers on June 10, 1922, it was only a matter of time before she took to the stage. But Garland wasn't born a star, and her name, Frances Ethel Gum, didn't help. When she was only 2 years old, Judy started performing in her father's movie theater alongside her two older sisters, Mary Jane and Virginia. Music and dance colored little Frances's life, but it was only too soon before a terrible scandal changed everything. In 1926, shocking rumors about her father's inappropriate behavior with boys upended her life. Judy and her family escaped the whispers and set up shop in Lancaster, but the damage was already done. She watched in dismay as her parents' marriage fell apart. From then on, her mother, Ethel, focused all her energy on grooming her 3 daughters into budding stars. Judy's introduction to substances tragically came from her own mother, whom Judy later called the real Wicked Witch of the West. To keep her performance ready, Ethel started her daughter on a dangerous regime that got her going in the morning and then helped her sleep at night. Judy spent her childhood performing with her siblings as the Gum Sisters, but it soon became obvious that Gum wasn't the most appealing stage name. According to a rumor, a Chicago theater even once called them the Glum Sisters, a huge embarrassment. In 1935, the Gum Sisters changed their name to the Garland Sisters, but it wasn't long before they realized that only one of them had real star potential. Inspired by a Hoagie Carmichael song, Frances decided to change her name to Judy. Soon enough, with her new stage name, Judy Garland took to the stage, and somebody very important noticed her. During one of the Garland sisters' acts at the Orpheum Theater, songwriter Burton Lane, sent especially by Louis B. Mayer, gravitated toward Judy. With his recommendation, her life would never be the same. Only a few days later, Garland found herself facing the unknown, smack dab in the middle of an audition at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studios. She sang with every ounce of passion she could muster. Garland's voice was an absolute revelation, powerful and melodic, and surprisingly adult for such a young girl. Judy's audition blew everyone away, and they signed her immediately. They didn't even bother with a screen test. But even as they rejoiced in finding this diamond in the rough, the studio still had a dilemma. At 13, Garland was far too old to be a child actor and still too young to be a full-blown starlet. Of course, her age wasn't the only problem. Judy Garland was a tiny little thing, coming in at 4'11.5", and her studio immediately pigeonholed her into the role of the cutesy girl next door actress. She certainly didn't seem to fit in with the other leading ladies. Always set apart from her contemporaries, this exclusion was a serious blow to her self-esteem. Just as her new daunting chapter in show business began, Garland faced a distressing tragedy. Right before one of her first professional studio renditions, she learned that her father had taken ill with meningitis. He listened to her radio performance while he lay dying. The following morning, he passed, leaving Garland devastated. During her first year at MGM, Judy Garland came up against her #1 competitor, pretty blonde opera singer Deanna Durbin. Both girls were cast opposite one another in the short musical Every Sunday, but there was just something about Garland that stole the show. When she was 14, Garland performed at Clark Gable's birthday party singing "You Made Me Love You" for the megastar, earning both his approval and a kiss of gratitude. Louis B. Mayer also delighted in her rendition. After this, Judy Garland's career really took off. In 1937, Judy Garland developed a severe crush on her co-star Mickey Rooney. Their undeniable chemistry excited studio execs, and soon Garland and Rooney were cast in a series of backyard musicals. There was only one problem. Rooney didn't reciprocate her feelings, and her roles never gave her a chance to prove herself as a leading lady. Behind MGM's polished exterior, something far more sinister was happening. Garland claimed that she, along with many others, were consistently prescribed dangerous medication to help them endure their heavy work schedules. Later on, she claimed these prescriptions led to her addictions and severe mental health problems. Already feeling like the odd one out, Garland faced more criticism from the studio. Execs considered her figure too heavy, and they put her on a ridiculously strict diet. On one occasion, when she tried to order a healthy-sized meal, they presented her with lettuce and soup instead. When Garland turned 16, she discovered an even darker side of Hollywood. Powerful men were repeatedly behaving inappropriately towards her. The worst perpetrator, Louis B. Mayer himself. Whenever he told her to sing from her heart, he'd reach for her inappropriately, supposedly showing where her heart was. Soon, Mayer's disgusting behavior became the everyday norm, but no matter how many times he tried, Garland continued to reject his inappropriate advances. Exhausted by it all, she finally told him, "Mr. Mayer, don't you ever do that again. I just will not stand for it." Sadly, this wasn't the end of inappropriate behavior towards the young Judy. In 1938, Judy Garland landed her most iconic role, Dorothy Gale in The Wizard of Oz. But she wasn't Mayer's first choice. First, he tried to borrow Shirley Temple from another studio and then offered the part to Garland's rival, Deanna Durbin, before finally casting Garland. In the end, they cast Garland, but playing Dorothy Gale wasn't exactly a dream come true. To Garland's horror, she endured even more unsolicited advances while on the set of The Wizard of Oz, this time at the hands of many of the male actors playing the Munchkins. One of her husbands later admitted in his memoir, they would make Judy's life miserable on set by putting their hands under her dress. Garland's character almost had a completely different look, a curly blonde wig. Although the idea was scrapped in the end, the studio did keep the recognizable blue gingham dress. The dress had a blurring effect on camera, which helped slim down Garland's womanly curves. Along with the diet and the dress, Garland also had a rigorous athletic regime, swimming, hiking, tennis, and badminton, to keep her weight down. Luckily, the terrible time on set paid off. In 1939, Garland won her first and only Academy Award for her performances in The Wizard of Oz and Babes in Arms. As the new decade began, she began landing more adult roles, including her first on-screen kiss in Little Nellie Kelly. Her co-star, George Murphy, admitted their kiss was humiliating, comparing it to a hillbilly with a child bride. How charming. While still a teenager, Garland fell hard for bandleader Artie Shaw, her first real adult relationship. But early in 1940, Shaw turned his back on Garland and eloped with Lana Turner instead. Garland was heartbroken, and sadly this was only the beginning. Next, Garland started a relationship with married musician David Rose, but that didn't stop him from proposing to Garland the moment she turned 18. The studio forbade the marriage until Rose could secure a proper divorce. In the meantime, Garland started an affair with songwriter Johnny Mercer, a married 30-year-old. Mercer fell deeply in love with Garland and even wrote, "I Remember You" for her, which infuriated his wife. When David Rose finally showed up with his divorce in hand, Garland married him. However, when she became pregnant in 1941, both her mother and studio executives pressured her to terminate the pregnancy in an attempt to protect her babyface image, which was incredibly valuable. In 1943, she became pregnant again, and again wasn't allowed to keep the baby. By 1944, the marriage had passed the point of no return, and the couple divorced. In 1944, Judy Garland starred in one of MGM's greatest successes, Meet Me in St. Louis. Thanks to her makeup artist, Dorothy Ponadell, Garland got a brand new look. Ponadell reshaped her eyebrows, hairline, and lip line, and assured her she didn't need her teeth caps or nose discs. For the first time, Garland began seeing herself as an attractive and worthy leading lady, and included Ponadell in her contract for every future film. In the film, her hauntingly beautiful rendition of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas captivated audiences. Behind the scenes, Garland entertained dalliances with Orson Welles, who was still married to Rita Hayworth, and with director Vincent Minnelli. By 1945, Garland and Minnelli's relationship was really in full swing. On June 15, 1945, Garland and Minnelli married. The following year, Garland found out she was pregnant. This time, she was finally allowed to keep the baby. She gave birth to her daughter, Liza, who would one day follow in her mother's footsteps. But behind the happy facade, Judy's mental health was declining rapidly. During the filming of 1948's The Pirate, everything began to fall apart. Garland continued self-medicating, and she had a nervous breakdown on set. After some time in a private sanatorium, Judy returned to finish the movie, but the delays and elevated costs contributed to the film's failure. In July of that year, Garland's mental health reached an all-time low, and she attempted to end her life. She survived and was later admitted for treatment, spending a short time in a psychiatric hospital. Even as Garland struggled behind the scenes, Hollywood kept asking more of her. Her next film, Easter Parade, was a smash hit, but The Barclays of Broadway was a catastrophe. Garland had begun relying on new prescription medication, which worsened her erratic behavior and caused her to miss days on set. Finally, MGM suspended her and replaced her with Ginger Rogers. Her next film, In the Good Old Summertime, was another success, but this pattern of triumph and setback was slowly ruining her reputation. During Annie Get Your Gun, Garland and director Busby Berkeley clashed on all fronts, and he bullied her for her poor attitude. Fed up, she cried to Louis B. Mayer to have Berkeley fired, but he didn't, and the atmosphere on set went from bad to worse. Judy started showing up late, sometimes not at all, and the studio finally fired her outright. Desperate to recover, Garland went to a hospital in Boston where doctors slowly weaned her off her medication. Judy returned to Los Angeles healthier and happier, but the studio only noticed her weight gain. Once again pressured to shed pounds, Judy turned back to pills. Summer Stock was her last film at MGM. Her erratic behavior cost the studio $80,000. Things were about to go from bad to worse. Eventually, Garland's struggles with depression became overwhelming, and she attempted to end her life once again. The press sensationalized the incident, portraying it as far more shocking than the reality. The media scrutiny affected Garland's relationship with the studio. In September 1950, after 15 years together, Garland and MGM finally parted ways. The following year, Garland's marriage to Minnelli also began to unravel. Rumors circulated about Minnelli's sexuality. Meanwhile, without MGM's backing, Garland's finances began to suffer. Then, Bing Crosby stepped in, offering her a chance to rebuild her confidence by inviting her onto his radio show. Terrified of returning to the spotlight, Garland worried the audience would focus on her scars rather than her talent. But Crosby introduced her with warmth and compassion. "We got a friend here. She's had a little trouble recently. She needs our love. She needs our support. Here's Judy." The appearance was a major success, and Garland returned to the show 8 times between 1950 and 1951. 1951 proved glorious for Garland's career. Her 4-month concert tour opened to critical acclaim. Her performance at Manhattan's Palace Theater was called one of the greatest personal triumphs in show business history. While still married to Minnelli, Garland started an affair with Sidney Luft, her tour manager and producer. In 1952, Garland married Luft, and that same year they welcomed their daughter, Lorna. Luft believed it was time for a Hollywood comeback, and the couple produced A Star is Born with Warner Brothers. However, filming was plagued by delays caused by Garland's old habits, and although audiences adored the film, its staggering cost meant it never turned a profit. Garland was nominated for an Academy Award for her performance, and everyone believed she would win. She couldn't attend the ceremony because she had just given birth, so a camera crew was set up in her hospital room to broadcast her acceptance speech. Instead, the award went to Grace Kelly. Many believed Garland had been unfairly overlooked, and Groucho Marx sent her a telegram calling it the biggest robbery since Brinks. By 1959, Garland's health had deteriorated so severely that doctors warned her she had only 5 years or less to live. Her liver had been badly damaged by acute hepatitis, and they feared she might eventually be unable to sing or perform. Surprisingly, hearing this gave Garland an overwhelming sense of relief. The pressure was off me for the first time in my life. But even as Garland continued to defy expectations, she faced mounting personal struggles. Alongside her failing health, she owed hundreds of thousands of dollars in IRS debt. Meanwhile, Garland's marriage to Luft became increasingly tumultuous, and by 1963, she had reached her breaking point. She sued for divorce, citing mental cruelty as his biggest offense. In 1964, after 2 successful performances in Melbourne, Garland arrived an hour late to her 3rd show and appeared intoxicated. The audience booed and shouted at her for 45 minutes before she eventually fled the stage. And her financial struggles continued. By 1966, she owed $500,000 to the IRS and was forced to sell her home for far less than it was worth. In 1966, Judy Garland met Mickey Deans at her New York hotel through a mutual friend. Soon after, they began a relationship. Sadly, Judy Garland had very little time left. As Garland approached the end of her life, Deans tried his best to support and promote her fading career, but her severe addiction issues remained the greatest obstacle. On June 22, 1969, Deans made a shocking discovery. Judy Garland had died in their home. She was only 47 years old. Garland had accidentally overdosed on pills, though some experts believed cirrhosis also played a role. Whatever the cause, years of personal struggles and her extreme lifestyle had taken their toll. For the entertainment world and millions of fans around the globe, her passing was a devastating loss. Garland's health had been declining for decades, and much of it traced back to her years as a child star. When Louis B. Mayer insisted on calling her his little hunchback, and when she attended school at Metro, where she was constantly compared to her glamorous peers, including Ava Gardner and Elizabeth Taylor. The studio even went so far as to alter her appearance using dental caps and rubber prosthetics to change her features. As director Charles Walters remembered, Judy was the big moneymaker at the time, a big success, but she was the ugly duckling. I think it had a very damaging effect on her emotionally for a long time. I think it lasted forever, really. Judy Garland spent her entire life chasing the love and approval that had been withheld from her. The little girl who was told she wasn't pretty enough, thin enough, or good enough became one of the most beloved entertainers the world had ever known. Thanks for watching. Love movies, television, and entertainment? Make sure to subscribe to stay in the know, and check out the videos on screen for more must-watch picks.